Across now to our reporter Abra Barbier in Cape Town, and she's outside Parliament. Abra, good morning. And of course, it is a much anticipated maiden speech for Minister Enoch Godongwana. But please tell us a little bit more, and also what to expect in terms of other stakeholders who will be attending this event. Good morning.
Sakina, very good morning to you as well. And yes, welcome to Parliament. For a change, we have really good weather this early in the morning. You know, whenever I cross to you early in the morning, I'm normally out here freezing. So I'm really happy that today is just not one of those days. Yes, as you've said, the Minister is delivering his maiden budget speech in the House today. And it couldn't come at the worst time for him, Shame, as a Finance Minister delivering his first speech, because, you know, the speech comes at a time when South Africa's economy is extremely sluggish. Jobs are at an all-time low. South Africans across the board, even those who are working, you know, everybody is just struggling at this point. And while the Minister is not expected to be making big announcements today, he's just going to be presenting the country's revised framework for the next 3 years to the National Assembly and to South Africans in general. We're not expecting big announcements, but with me I have the Matthew Parks of COSATU here in Parliament, and he's going to be speaking to us about exactly what it is that he would like to hear, that COSATU would like to hear the Minister saying to the nation today. Matthew, thank you again for joining us. Our jobs in a bad state. And while, like I said, we're not expecting big announcements, but what are the small announcements you would like to hear, that COSATU would like to hear the Minister making today to just help us ease through this time? I mean, we were going into the pandemic, things were already not looking good, and obviously 2020 hit and we are nowhere near to where we need to be.
Sure, look, the Minister's got quite a lot of tasks on his plate. I think number one is unemployment. We're at 44% unemployment rate. Millions of jobs have been lost. So what can be done to create jobs, to save jobs? We hope to see an expansion of the Presidential Employment Program, which has created about 800,000 jobs. Can we triple that? What other measures can we give to support the economy? We need to inject stimulus into the economy because thousands of companies have closed, have retrenched workers. There is also a need to provide economic and social relief. So we hope to see the UF system being modernized so workers can receive their payments on time, not being delayed. We would hope to see the 350 COVID-19 grant being extended beyond March next year, so an announcement could be made today, and to see can we increase it to the level of the food poverty line, but also some sort of support for better sectors of the economy like hospitality, restaurants, tourism, which are really bleeding. There is a need also to protect collective bargaining, to respect the right of public servants to wage increases like any other workers. So we'd hope to avoid what happened previously with the previous Minister of Finance, who basically tried to impose wage freezes on public servants. So those matters should be engaged with at the Public Service Bargaining Council. We also need to see how can we increase revenue for the state. We need to invest in SARS further to deal with tax evasion, customs evasion, because if SARS has money for the state, the government can deliver the public services we all need. There is a need to tackle corruption. We cannot afford to continue bleeding billions of rands to corruption, to wasteful expenditure, and to the pilferage that has been kind of endemic in the state. But I think also we know that we're having load shedding. So what more support can be given to Eskom to invest in maintenance, to provide new generation, to ease its debt burden? And I think similarly for other state-owned enterprises like Transnet and Metro Rail, which are really limping along, which are in difficult stages, and are critical to the economy's growth and to getting workers on time to work. And of course, we had the local elections last week, Monday, where voters gave the government a resounding club. They're not happy, correctly so. They want to see municipalities be fixed, the corruption, mismanagement addressed, and basic services being delivered to the poorest areas.
On that point, coming off the back of the local government elections, something that I picked up during my crisscrossing the province and just going into municipalities, there's a big issue with skills. Now, we know local municipalities, especially in the dorpies, the smaller towns, there are big employment generators. But the big thing that we have found is that administrators, decision makers are not necessarily skilled to do for those municipalities what they are meant to do. Do you think the Minister should be making some kind of announcement about how to be just beefing up skills in those areas?
No, he needs to. The Auditor General says about 90% of our municipalities are in financial distress. Many of them can't even submit audited reports. don't even cooperate. They're just Wild West. And we've seen as a consequence municipalities collapsing, not delivering water, electricity, sewerage, not paving roads. And that's had a huge impact upon jobs because companies have left these small towns because they cannot simply operate without water or electricity. That means workers lose their jobs. The fact that 90% of your municipalities are in financial trouble, they can't perform the basics, that shows you there is a huge management problem there. It needs to be fixed before it's too late.
Matthew, thank you so much for speaking to us. That was Matthew Parks of COSATU. I'm sure we'll be speaking to him again later on today. I think you're going into lockup as well. Matthew will be joining some of the other stakeholders in lockup as well later on today. I will be speaking to political parties and to economists along with my econ team who will be assisting us here in Parliament today. And we will be crossing to you throughout the day to give you updates from the precinct.
And of course, looking forward to more of these previews as we count down to the medium-term budget policy statement later today. And SABC News will, of course, be bringing that to you live. All right.